This post is dense, raw, and highly layered. It weaves together personal betrayal, intense moral outrage, and a profound sense of disillusionment, using ancient scriptural weight to process a modern, localized grievance. Here is an in-depth analysis of how these elements interact, looking at the narrative, the scriptural choices, the tone, and the multimedia framing. 1. The narrative and personal context. The text starts with a stark, colloquial accusation against someone named Josephine. By using the term POS and quoting a highly vulgar, disrespectful remark she allegedly made to a coworker, you immediately ground the post in a gritty reality: the betrayal of a gift. There is a deep irony highlighted here. This person gave you a living creature, a cat, an act that normally implies care, trust, and connection. Finding out that the gesture was wrapped in crude mockery behind your back retroactively taints that gift. The Walmart connection. Mentioning the workplace adds a layer of everyday realism, contrasting sharply with the epic biblical language that follows. It shows how a mundane, daily environment can become the stage for profound personal disrespect. 2. Scriptural analysis, the anatomy of wickedness. The transition from a personal workplace grievance to a series of heavy biblical citations elevates the situation. You aren't just calling someone a bad person. You are placing their behavior into a timeless cosmic framework of right versus wrong. Your choices of scripture follow a distinct thematic progression. The problem of impunity, Job chapter 21 verse 7 and Psalm chapter 73 verses 3 to 12. By invoking Job and the Psalms, you are grappling with a classic existential frustration. Why do bad people get away with it? These verses capture the irritation of watching arrogant, deceitful people move through life always free of care and amassing wealth, while suffering no immediate consequences for their toxicity. It validates the feeling that the social order is unfair when someone cruel appears to be thriving. The illusion of goodness. Matthew chapter 23, verses 27 to 28. The transition to the New Testament brings in the concept of systemic hypocrisy. The whitewashed tombs metaphor is incredibly visceral. It highlights the contrast between an external persona, someone who might seem charitable or friendly enough to give away a pet, and an internal reality that is full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. The mechanism of deceit, Proverbs chapter 26 verses 24 to 25, and Psalm chapter 28 verse 3. The analysis wraps up by identifying the specific strategy of the antagonist: charming speech masking malice. Proverbs warns against the charming speech of an enemy, and Psalm chapter 28 explicitly nails the concept of people who speak cordially with their neighbors but harbor malice in their hearts. This mirrors the exact hurt of the opening line: someone who was pleasant enough to your face but venomous when you turned around. 3. Tone, music, and atmosphere. The tone is uncompromising, righteously angry, and deeply guarded. There is a clear decision being made here to close a door permanently and look at the situation with cold clarity. The warning sign interlude. The line, "I'll use you as a warning sign," acts as a modern proverb. It shifts your role from a victim of gossip to an active observer who is extracting a lesson from the experience. The musical pairing. At the bottom of the screen, "I Found" by Amber Run is playing. That song is heavily atmospheric, melancholy, and cinematic. Its lyrics, "I found love where it wasn't supposed to be, in the ashes of a home that I misjudged," deal with painful realizations, misplacing trust, and finding clarity after a collapse. It acts as a perfect, somber soundtrack to the heavy realization that someone wasn't who they pretended to be. Summary. Ultimately, the piece is an exercise in processing anger by framing it through a higher lens. Instead of engaging in petty, back-and-forth gossip, the post uses scripture to strip the antagonist of their power. By classifying the behavior as ancient, predictable hypocrisy, you distance yourself from the hurt and turn a painful personal slight into a universal lesson on who not to trust. It's an intense, incredibly honest look at how a small interaction can expose a massive deficit in someone else's character.